Nobody really noticed Aanya when she walked into the classroom. Her eyes were always down, her voice barely above a whisper, and her steps so soft that even the floor didn't seem to creak under her shoes. She sat in the third row from the back, not too far to attract attention, not too close to the front to be noticed. That's how she liked it. Or at least, that's what people assumed. It was her first week at the new school. She'd transferred in the middle of the semester, which already made her a target. She didn't talk unless someone spoke to her, and even then, her replies were short and polite. The other students found this strange. They weren't used to someone like Aanya, someone who didn't try to fit in, didn't gossip, didn't even defend herself when they started picking on her. It started small. A joke about how quiet she was. A snide comment in the hallway. A book pushed off her desk. She'd just pick it up and continue writing, her long black hair falling over her face like a curtain. But the silence, that irritated them. It made her different. And in high school, different was dangerous. On a rainy Wednesday morning, things escalated. The class had just settled into their seats when the queen bees of the school, Neha, Simran, and Zara, walked in, giggling among themselves. Neha spotted Aanya sitting alone and whispered something to her friends. They all smirked. And then, as the teacher stepped out to take a phone call, Neha walked over with exaggerated steps, tapping her nails against Anya's desk. "Hey, mute girl," she said loudly. The whole class turned. Aanya looked up slowly, her brown eyes calm but unreadable. "I asked you something. Are you deaf or just stupid?" Snickers filled the room. Aanya didn't reply. Neha leaned closer. "You think you're better than us. Sitting there all quiet like you're mysterious or something. You're just weird. And we don't like weird." Aanya still said nothing. She looked down at her notebook. That's when Simran grabbed the notebook and flipped through the pages. "Look at this, she draws little sketches of everyone. What a creep." Zara laughed, snatching the notebook. "OMG, is that supposed to be me? Ew, do I look like that?" The whole class erupted in laughter. Aanya reached out to take the notebook back, but Neha shoved her hand away. "Ah, you want your little sketchbook back? Say something. Come on, speak. Bark. Meow. Anything." Silence. And then, Simran pulled out a pair of scissors from her bag. Before anyone could react, she grabbed a strand of Anya's hair and snipped it. The class gasped. Aanya froze. She didn't move, didn't speak, didn't even cry. Zara held up the strand of hair like a trophy. "Oops, maybe she'll scream now." The bell rang. The teacher returned. And just like that, the bullies melted back into their seats with innocent smiles. Aanya sat motionless. She slowly picked up the lock of hair from the desk, placed it in her pocket, and closed her notebook. That night, she didn't cry. She didn't call her parents. She just stared at her drawings. Her silent anger burned in the pit of her stomach like a quiet storm waiting to break. The next day was Friday, the day of the interschule art competition. No one remembered that Aanya had signed up weeks ago. No one noticed her name on the final list. And no one, not even her teachers, knew what she was about to do. At 10:30 a.m., the entire school was gathered in the auditorium. Artworks from different students were displayed on easels, landscapes, portraits, calligraphy, and abstract pieces. Then came the final entry. It was a massive canvas, covered in charcoal and ink. At first glance, it looked chaotic, like a storm or a wildfire. But as people stepped closer, they fell silent. It wasn't just a painting. It was a story. Dozens of faces, twisted, sneering, laughing, emerging from a crowd, their features exaggerated like masks. In the center, a girl with downcast eyes, her hair flowing like ink across the canvas, her lips stitched shut. But around her were tiny, hidden details, a girl being mocked, her book stolen, her hair cut, her pain ignored. At the bottom of the painting, in bold blood-red strokes, were the words. Gasps filled the hall. People turned. They looked at the painting. Then at the back of the auditorium, where Aanya stood quietly, dressed in black, her face emotionless. The judges were stunned. The audience was frozen. The principal stepped forward, clearing his throat. "This is powerful. Who made this?" A teacher flipped the name tag beneath the painting. Aanya Khan. Grade 10. Silence. And then, applause. It started slow, hesitant. But then it grew. Louder. Stronger. Until the whole auditorium stood on its feet. Even the students who had laughed at her the day before were now speechless. Neha, Simran, and Zara stared in disbelief. They hadn't just been exposed. They had been immortalized. In art. In truth. For everyone to see. Aanya walked down the aisle, silent still. But this time, her silence wasn't weakness. It was power. When she reached the stage, the head judge took her hand. This is not just art. It's a voice. And it's heard. Aanya finally spoke. Her voice was soft, but firm. You called me silent. But I was listening, watching, waiting. You thought quiet meant weak. But some storms don't make noise, until they destroy everything in their path. The crowd erupted again. Neha, Simran, and Zara quietly slipped out of the auditorium. But it was too late. Everyone had seen the truth. And Aanya, the girl they shamed, had silenced them all. The morning after the competition, the atmosphere at school was different. Usually filled with chatter, the hallways were unnaturally quiet, as though everyone was still trying to absorb what had happened. Students walked slower. Some whispered. Some avoided eye contact. But every one of them remembered Anya's painting, and how it made them feel. Aanya arrived at school the same way she always had. Quiet. Alone. But this time, heads turned. People stepped aside for her. Not out of fear, but respect. She didn't smile. She didn't gloat. She simply walked through the crowd with the same silent dignity she had always carried, except now, people saw it. They didn't see a silent girl anymore. They saw a storm disguised as a whisper. When she reached her locker, a sticky note fluttered down. It read, "I'm sorry for laughing yesterday. I didn't know." It wasn't signed. A few minutes later, a folded paper was slipped into her notebook. It said, "Your painting made me cry. I've been bullied too, but never spoke up. Thank you." All day long, messages kept appearing. Quiet apologies. Heartfelt thank yous. Even from teachers. But not from Neha, Simran, or Zara. They were nowhere to be seen. By lunchtime, the rumors had already started. Did you hear? The principal suspended them. Zara's parents were furious after seeing the painting. Simran's mom came to school crying. Aanya didn't react to any of it. She didn't need to. Her painting had done everything she never said out loud. At art class, her teacher Miss Anjali pulled her aside. "I've been teaching for 20 years, she said, her voice shaking, "and I've never seen a student do what you did. You turned pain into power, Aanya. That's rare." She handed her a form. "What's this?" Aanya asked. "A National Youth Art Exhibition. They saw your painting online. They want to feature your next piece as the closing act." Aanya blinked. "Online?" Miss Anjali smiled. "Someone took a photo of your painting and posted it. It's gone viral. Over 500,000 views in a single day." Anya's heart thudded. Not with fear. Not with anxiety. But with possibility. That evening, she sat in her room with her sketchbook in her lap. Her window was open, and the evening breeze danced with the papers pinned on her wall, sketches of everything she'd been too afraid to say. Until now, she thought of all the kids out there, the ones being laughed at, ignored, pushed aside. She thought of how many of them had no one. Just like her. But then, she smiled. Because maybe, now they did. The following week, the school organized something unexpected, a silent assembly. No speaking, no clapping, just listening. Every student filed into the hall and was handed a pair of headphones. The lights dimmed. A large screen flickered to life. Then came the voice. Soft, steady, familiar. Anya's voice. Greater than, "My name is Aanya. I was silent not because I was weak. I was silent because no one listened. I was silent because every time I tried to speak, someone else was louder. But in my silence, I watched. I remembered. I turned pain into pictures. And now, I speak not through volume. I speak through truth. This story isn't just mine. It belongs to every person who's ever been laughed at for being different. To every girl who was told to, just smile. To every boy who was mocked for being sensitive. To every child who chose silence as survival. You're not alone. And your silence has power too." The room was frozen. Tears glistened. Not loud sobs, just quiet streams of truth. Even the teachers wiped their eyes. Then the screen faded to black. And one sentence appeared: "Silence never felt louder." The next day, something even more surprising happened. Neha returned. No makeup. No entourage. No fake smile. She walked straight up to Aanya in the courtyard, hands trembling. Students watched from a distance, curious. "Aanya," she whispered. Aanya looked up from her sketchbook. I don't deserve your forgiveness," Neha said. "But I need you to know, I wasn't laughing because you were weak. I was laughing because I was scared of you. Scared that someone so quiet could still feel so much more than I did. I thought if I could make others laugh at you, I wouldn't feel so hollow inside." She reached into her bag and pulled out a crumpled drawing. It was a self-portrait. Tears in the eyes. A mirror behind her, cracked. In the corner, a girl crouched with her arms over her head. "I drew this last night," Neha said. "I've been drawing since I was 6. But I always hid it. I never thought art could mean anything. Until you." Aanya looked at the drawing. Then at Neha. She didn't say a word. Just reached for her sketchbook, tore out a blank page, and handed it to her. Neha broke into quiet tears. And just like that, the silence between them healed something. Over the next few months, everything changed. The school created a new program called The Quiet Room, a safe space where students could express themselves without judgment. No pressure to talk, no pressure to perform, just freedom. Anya's second painting, titled Echoes of the Unheard, was showcased at the National Art Exhibition. She was only 15, and the youngest artist featured that year. Media outlets picked up her story. Interviews followed. She spoke carefully in front of the cameras, never loud, but always clear. "Do you have anything to say to those who bullied you?" one reporter asked. Aanya smiled gently. "I already said it. In charcoal and ink. Years later, her painting hung in a children's therapy center. Beneath it, a plaque read, "Greater than, to every child who thought they had no voice, silence is not the absence of strength. It is the beginning of a deeper roar." And as kids walked past it, some in tears, some with shy eyes and shaking hands, they found the courage to pick up a pencil and begin. 1 year later, Aanya stood in front of a giant canvas, not in a school auditorium, not at an art fair, but on the stage of Thane, New York City. She was 16 now. Still quiet, still soft-spoken, but no longer hidden. Behind her, thousands of people sat in rows. Artists, activists, educators, students, and among them, world leaders and celebrities. But Aanya wasn't nervous. She didn't need to prove anything. She already had. She wasn't just the silent girl who painted her pain anymore. She had become a voice, one that traveled across borders, classrooms, and continents. But she hadn't come this far to bask in applause. She had come with a mission. Her journey had started with one painting. Then came another. Then dozens more. Each piece told a story, of children silenced by bullying, girls unheard in violent homes, boys laughed at for crying, students punished for learning differently. Her art became truth in a world too afraid to face it. When Anya's online gallery, The Quiet Revolution, launched, it received 10 million visits in the first month. But something unexpected happened. Among the thousands of submissions were cries for help. Not just stories. Real-life pain. Kids from every corner of the world, India, Brazil, Ukraine, South Africa, Pakistan, the US, reached out. Some wrote anonymously. Some drew images with trembling lines. Many ended their messages the same way. "Greater than, I don't have anyone to talk to, but your art made me feel like someone heard me." That's when Aanya knew, her silence had given others permission to speak. And she couldn't stop now. The auditorium lights dimmed. The announcer's voice echoed. "Greater than, please welcome, the youngest recipient of the International Voice for Change Award, Aanya Khan." She walked onto the stage with her sketchpad in hand. The applause thundered. Aanya waited patiently. When it died down, she looked up at the audience. Her soft voice floated into the microphone. "I want to begin by saying, thank you for clapping. I know you're clapping for the story I represent. But let me tell you the part you don't know." She turned to the canvas behind her and flipped it open. It was blank. "I was 7 when I first chose silence," she began. "I had too much to say, but no one asked. At 9, I started drawing because my words were too heavy to carry. At 12, I was bullied so badly, I stopped speaking completely. And by 14, I believed I didn't matter." She paused. "Until the day someone cut my hair, laughed in my face, and made me realize silence was never my weakness. It was my weapon. She turned to the blank canvas and, with a black marker, began drawing in front of the entire auditorium, live. A figure slowly emerged, small, curled up in the middle of chaos. Around it, the shadows of bigger figures shouting, pointing, mocking. But then, from the center of the figure, came a glowing light, spreading outward, breaking the dark. The auditorium watched, breathless, as her hands moved. She narrated as she drew. I stand here not as a survivor, but as a voice for those still trapped in silence. I've learned that institutions fail children. Schools punish the bullied instead of the bullies. Families dismiss mental health. Society labels sensitivity as weakness. But I also learned something else. She stepped back from the canvas. The drawing was complete. The center light had turned into a fire. It was beautiful, powerful, devouring the darkness. One voice, she whispered, can start an unstoppable fire. The room erupted into applause, not out of courtesy, but from the heart. She bowed slightly and left the stage. Backstage, Aanya received hugs from artists and activists. But she wasn't looking for fame. She was searching for a girl, a 13-year-old named who had written to her weeks ago. Maya had drawn a picture of herself with duct tape over her mouth and bruises on her arms. She lived in a shelter and said, "Sometimes I pretend I'm you. That helps me keep going." Aanya arranged for Maya to attend the summit. And there she was now, hiding in the corner, clutching a notebook. Aanya walked over slowly and knelt beside her. "Hey," she said gently. "You must be Maya." The girl looked up, tears already falling. You're real." Aanya nodded. "So are you." Maya whispered, "I don't know how to talk in front of people like you do." "You don't need to," Aanya smiled. "You just need to draw." She handed Maya a sketchbook. And in that moment, another voice was born. 2 months later, the Quiet Revolution Foundation was launched, led by Aanya and a small team of artists, therapists, and survivors from around the world. They created safe art spaces in schools, online storyboards for children too scared to speak, free workshops that used creativity to help children find healing. But the real change came when governments noticed. When schools reworked their anti-bullying policies. When a minister held up Anya's drawing during a press conference and said, "This isn't just art. This is truth. And we've ignored it for too long." Back home, Aanya returned to her school for the first time in months. She walked the same hallway where she was once mocked. But now, on the main wall, framed behind glass, hung her original painting, "You silenced me. But now, I speak through art." Students stopped her to say thank you. Teachers smiled warmly. Even Zara, once a tormentor, was now part of the school's art therapy program and had painted murals about kindness. When Aanya stepped into the old art room, she found something waiting on the desk, a single page, drawn in charcoal. It was a picture of her, standing on stage, with fire in her chest and stars in her eyes. At the bottom, someone had written,